This is going to be a challenge talking with you after Martin, our discourse graphs ambassador, did a great job of promoting discourse graphs, and now we can push the frontier of research forward. So I'm Silvia. I'm a research program manager for the network research team at Protocol Labs, the team that you mentioned several times. But I'm giving him some value attribution back because we felt very honored when someone just came up with our data model and deployed it in a very Web3 way that is kind of seemingly for researchers as well. But enough about that. Let me tell you about what we do. Network research identifies and uses leverage points within science as a system to align researchers and research funders. And I'm here to talk about how research road mapping can be used to map the unknown and improve foresight coordination in science as well. So humanity has long thrived to map everything. And we developed navigation tools and instruments to support them. And since you're in Lisbon, you might want to take a look at this beautiful monument of the Portuguese discoveries. Portuguese people dared to face the sea to map the rest of the world and offer humanity the first Mariner's astrolabe, that instrument on the bottle, a navigation instrument that relied on the distance and angle between the horizon line and some stars to position our ships in the open sea. And although technology and tools have long progressed since the 15th and 16th centuries, we still ask most of the same questions. I dare say anyone in this room has used GPS or Google Maps before. We want to find points of interest, know how to get to the best Lisbon landmarks, or know where to buy something in the middle of the night. And the optimal path between points A and B is not necessarily the same for everyone. If I'm visiting a new country, I usually want a scenic route, while locals might wish for the quickest way to get to their X marks on the map. So where am I going? Roadmaps are an instrument of coordination and decision. Technology companies draft and publish their own product roadmaps to signal customers, developers, and end users of their next milestones and dependency graphs, mapping their known knowns and known unknowns to find the optimal and alternative paths to develop and deploy a tech solution or product. On the other hand, we have funding agencies sponsoring the design of ethical and breakthrough roadmaps, hoping to highlight the path with the highest probability of impact and success, moving their money towards projects along those paths. Researchers and academics synthesize their own every time they look for a new hypothesis to test, a problem to solve, or a new experiment to run. They outline the problem space and highlight promising routes toward a research solution, an attempt to map known unknowns, and hypothesize about unknowns, the gray areas of the map we want to cover with roads as we extend the boundary of humanity's knowledge. And bridging the innovation cause requires distributed coordination of the discovery of new facts, the blue part of things, the research part of things, and the invention of new forms. Well, actually, it's the other way around. Invention of the new forms is actually research. I might have split the colors around. So we need to make these roadmaps talk somehow, create these multi-layer roadmaps that design well-scoped, goal-centered research initiatives, suggest new value research direction, and assemble stakeholders to match problems and capabilities to maximize positive impact. In fact, what we want is an iterative and shareable coordination model that discovers distributed path findings and embeds incentives to create research public goods. Did I lose you already? I hope you're still with me. Network research wants to bring the open source mindset to research road mapping. Who haven't said that we need a GitHub for research? So we want to promote immediate and continuous sharing of research visions, goals, and milestones to enable others in the space to decide if and how they can collaborate or push others' contributions forward. So roadmaps shouldn't be an static document. They should be forked, adapt, and merged back, a dynamic instrument to visualize who's making or funding what, why, and what's next. An instrument that is composable, interoperable, queryable, expandable, so that any stakeholder in research, and this includes researchers, funders, industry teams, ethicists, technologists, industry labs, in fact, anyone that is passionate about research and moving us forward, so they can engage in this permissionless dialogue and coordinate easier and align towards a global optima. Well, and similar to Portuguese people during the age of discoveries, we need tools and instruments to map the opportunities. We need an information model to share our findings with the world so that anyone can query the map and find their own optimal path. And network research is committed to building the back end to support the creation of actionable roadmaps, the ones we use to choose the next research hypothesis and make funding decisions to drive deterministic progress toward a common goal. And we made significant progress in 3 pillars of roadmaps. We have a data model to translate and combine knowledge from different fields, experts, and visions that can be used as a second layer on roadmaps to inform decisions. I'm not talking about discourse graphs again. I'm not talking about results graphs again. You heard about them already. We just consider them a powerful and composable model that you can kind of plug on top of classical research roadmaps where you have your own ontology. What is an ontology or a decision model? As long as you can kind of have nodes, relationships, and their attributes, they are expandable. And this is what we have with discourse graphs and result graphs. But if you want to know how we can use them to actually do research road mapping, Carla, the head of research, the network research team, has given a lot of talks on this topic that are all online. But we also have a list of tools for thought with pros and cons and how to use them, which we curated with experimentation and interviews with our partners. There's a ROM.js plugin to create discourse graphs. Same page is working on the interoperability between tools for thought so that you can share and collaborate on a graph regardless of your favorite tool. And of course, Lateral, that you heard about today. And P also funds Gitcoin runs on decentralized science, so consider applying. And we also believe that research road mapping is a service that should be provided to the scientific community. We want a space for this dialogue to happen. We host several discussion forums, we presented several DSI and Funding the Commons events to spread the word of research road mapping. But we actually hacked the decentralized AI roadmap at this Cyberlink with some familiar faces in this audience. And I'm also super excited to announce that in the coming weeks, we'll have our website live with a lot of content about information models, tools, roadmap examples, and frequently asked questions, so you can start road mapping now, plus other exciting news to come, so stay tuned. So what's cooking? We're working, this is really hard because I can't see a thing for that. So we're working on a template to create new queryable and personalized data models that are based on nodes, relationships, and attributes. So that's easier to convert any conversation, any dialogue that researchers have between them into an iterative and parsable graph to make research paths discoverable. We'll continue supporting the development of tooling and infrastructure that improve collaboration and interoperability features to expand the scope of free open source tools for thought used for road mapping. And we'll soon elicit external roadmaps to create a portfolio of actionable roadmaps. We want to encourage researchers or teams to map the problem space of their areas of concern or expertise, identifying high leverage nodes and paths to attach incentives or scope research initiatives. These roadmaps are expected to provide a mechanism to design investment theses or the risk investments or even the reputation of researchers that are conducting this. They are supposed to be actionable. You can have discourse graphs, result graphs on top of that with your claims. That's the best path to pursue to a specific goal. And we're designing a hub to share and iterate on these roadmaps so any stakeholder can engage in this structured planning and distributed discoverability of high positive impact research. And of course, we can think of several technological solutions that make it even better, such as create automations to expand linked ontologies and roadmaps, and attach distributed ideas to them. After all, we're at the IPFS Camp, so we can certainly use the system to make sharing, iteration, and queryability of roadmaps easier. We can design APIs to establish composability and interoperability protocols and facilitate the conversion of roadmap ontologies, or improve graph visualizations or query our graphs in a simpler way. Too much information already? Let's go with an example. So, at Protocol Labs, when we want to incentivize research, we usually start by empowering experts to share latent knowledge and find leverage points in a research network. So there's this phase of understanding the current state of knowledge frontier, the literature review that we can easily amplify or simplify now if you use lateral, for example. And then we identify our dependencies, our missing links between milestones, and we create these requests for proposals to signal other researchers in the space or people in the space that, oh, this is what we discovered that is missing, and this is why we think that's important. And better off, we make those informed decisions and create requests for experiments. And we had the incentives, for instance, with our grants. And what we want is that hopefully we'll open and expand this kind of activity to the public. So ready to map and rediscover research? We're making this happen, and we know how to help you. So feel free to email us if you want to be part of this mapping experience. Join our public Discord server where we openly discuss these and other meta-science topics, or attend our series of journal clubs and research salons, the open forums where most of these ideas are discussed, iterated. It's a space for research nerds, actually. So all this information, new releases or announcements will be linked to the website researchroadmaps.ai that will come soon, maybe in 2 weeks, or something like that, so stay tuned. Again, my name is Silvia, and it was a pleasure to be here today. If you have any ideas, thoughts, and opinions on how research roadmap should be done, please reach out to me. Thank you.